I'll start. I have recorded that. I've pressed the record button. So tonight um, we have discussed the strategic part of our marketing, which is basically about the segmentation, target, and positioning. So we have made a decision about who the customers are, and we have made a decision about the what kind of positioning strategy that we want to develop in this market. Okay, because you also need to consider that there may be some adjustment that we need to consider. Okay, last week we discussed about the adaptation and standardization. That's when we also discussed about the global positioning strategy. Well, we may need to consider the consistency of the positioning strategy. Aside from that, we also need to look at the the host market. Okay, whether the positioning strategy of the host market, the positioning strategy works in the host market. Okay, now remember, positioning is still at the abstract level, where it is the promise that you want to convey for the consumer. So we still need to specify that. Therefore, we need to deliver the marketing mix variables and the other aspects of the business. In this instance, the operation part. Okay. So this week, in this session, we are going to discuss the product decision. And next week would be the final chance we discuss the concepts, the learning materials. After that, we are going to focus on the assessment in week 11, because in week 12, you are going to submit your Friday, week 12, you are going to submit your second assessment. Okay. Now let's look at the product decision. Okay. The term product actually reflects what we offer. Okay, or in other words, anything that can be offered for the consumers, attention, acquisition, and consumption that might meet the customer's need. Okay, so if you look at the business from marketing perspective, we actually are engaged in the exchange process. Okay, so if you go back to the theoretical component again. A business is actually engaged in the exchange process. If you look at the from the social theory perspective, where we are all engaged in the exchange. Okay, so everybody is engaged in the exchange process. Okay, so when we say exchange, we actually say we have something that we want to offer to get something else in return. Okay, so the consumers also do the same thing. They have something. In this instance, they want to meet their needs. Therefore, they are engaged in the exchange process with us. Okay, to meet their needs. All right. From the company perspective, we are engaged in the exchange process because we want to build the business, want to grow the business, we want to gain the profit, and we want to build the brand, for instance, and so on and so forth. Okay. Right, so that's what we mean by a product. Okay, anything that can be offered to market for attention, yada yada. Okay, because what we offer might meet the customer's need. Okay. Okay, so just a few things in terms of the needs. Once we actually find that a lot of marketers, actually, a lot of business people, marketers actually use these two terms interchangeably. Okay, need is actually the state of healthy profession. Okay, wants actually reflects the particular form a need might take. Okay, so wants actually is influenced by the culture and the personality. Okay, so you can consider that if someone say they're hungry, they actually talk about need. Okay. And when the person say sandwich, well, that has cultural influence, that has personality influence. So that actually talks about a specific form a need might take. Okay, so in this instance, I'd like to highlight to you that the product that we design to certain markets, okay, may require some adjustment because of the cultural issue, because of, no, I shouldn't use the term issue, because of the cultural influence. Okay, So therefore, please consider that as well. Okay. Aside from you can go back to your past analysis as part of the institutional context where we are going to operate. Okay. The institutional context where we operate may be different to the one that we operate in our home market. Okay. All right. So that's a product. Now you can also consider this product as an example. Okay. KitKat wasabi, KitKat soy sauce. Okay. Well, you may argue that in Australian market, yeah, okay, I buy it, but just to try. But in Japan, these products work. Okay. Right. The other thing I'd like to highlight to you in terms of product decision is actually we need to consider a product has several dimensions. It includes the goods, the tangible aspects, the services, and experiences. Now, the last two aspects actually reflect the intangible part of the product. Okay, in today's business landscape, we may say, well, I manufacture physical goods, okay, which is fine, okay, which is quite common, okay, but in today's business landscape, since the market out there is so competitive, we also need to consider the services component, and we also need to consider what kind of experience that we want to build with the consumers, what kind of customers experience that we want to promote, okay. So they are engaged with our brand, okay. They are engaged with the product that they purchase. They enhance their own experience in using our product, okay. Some other companies may only focus on the experience. For instance, Hollywood movies, for instance, okay. When they launch, some brands, for instance, that have become quite popular because they create the sequels of the movies, such as the Mission Impossible, for instance. They launch it in America, and that hits the global market basically. So they are all actually offering the experience, all right, the excitement, for instance. Okay, so that's an example of the experience in this instance. Okay, all right. So they are the components of the product basically, and we need to bear in mind that although we work in the physical good company, please also think about the services component and also the experience, because that helps us building the competitive advantage in that market. Okay. Now this is the concept I'd like you to include in your assessment too. When you detail your marketing strategy, please include the 3 levels of product concept, because that is the opportunity for you to detail your product strategy. Okay, you need to look at the core customer value, okay, which is basically about what the customer is really buying. Okay, so it is actually addressing the need of the customers. Okay, the core customer value actually deals with the customer's need. Okay, so if you buy a car, you actually do not buy a car in quote unquote as such. Okay, what you buy is actually the transportation from A to B. Okay, the vehicle for you to move from A to B. Okay, if you buy Qantas ticket, for instance, you're not expecting to just get a piece of paper named ticket, okay, or an email from them telling you your e-ticket, for instance. But the reason you buy, which is basically core customer value of the airline ticket, is basically to fly from A to B. Okay, so that reflects the reasons why you buy. Okay, which is basically representing what you expect. Okay, representing how you would meet your need. Okay, what need that you are going to satisfy in here. Okay, and that core customer value should be translated into the actual product. Okay, that includes the brand name, the features of the of your product. This is the opportunity for you to detail the features, right? If it is an airline industry, talk about the aircraft, for instance. Okay, the number of seats. Okay, the business class, first class, economy class, premium economy, and so on and so forth. Okay, number of toilets, for instance. Okay, the food and beverages, for instance, part of the features. Okay, the design. Okay, you also talk about the design, packaging, and quality level. Okay, the design, you can also refer to the company's logo, the company's how the company designed the service for the customers. Okay, and the packaging, that includes the logo, the uniform. Okay, and the other attributes that package the entire service. Okay, so, and you can also consider your own product. Okay, how do they package that? How do they design the product? Okay, and the quality level. Okay, the quality level in here, you can argue that well, we are going to pitch ourselves at the highest level of quality level. So we are going to offer, because of those things that we offer, the brand name, features, design, packaging, we are going to pitch ourselves at the highest quality level, for instance. Okay. And the next one is the augmented product, which is basically about the additional services or additional benefits that we offer for the customers to enhance the experience in using the product. Okay. Now, the augmented product, as it suggests, it is just the additional items, that additional services that we offer. Okay. In other words, it doesn't meet the core customers' needs. Okay. But it helps the customers enhancing their experience in using our products. Okay. And in other words, it helps from marketing perspective. It helps the company to build the competitive advantage. Okay, the uniqueness in the market, the differentiation in the market. Okay, you offer something extra. Okay, so that may include the information that you provide, the warranty that you offer, the post after service that you offer. Okay, and the other things that the consumers actually enjoy as the extra benefits. Okay, if you compare that to the actual product needs to be there. Okay, because without the actual product, the customers cannot fulfill their needs back if you go back to the core customer value. Okay, so in the case of an airline industry, the aircraft itself is part of the actual product. However, the augmented products actually enhance their experience in using the product. If you go back to the airline industry, any services, any additional services like selecting online check-in, for instance, okay, the information available, okay, the information and so on and so forth is part of the augmented product. Okay, all right, so that's basically the three levels of product concepts. Now, what I'd like, the other thing I'd like to highlight to you is, please consider when you discuss your product strategies, okay, consider the adjustment that might happen, okay, if you compare to your if you compare the product between the one that you offer in your home market and in the host market that you have decided to expand your business to. Okay, the packaging, for instance, I think we discussed this when it comes to the standardization and adaptation topic. Okay, we need to consider whether we need to adjust the packaging. Okay. In markets like Australia, for instance, if we refer to discussion yesterday, we discussed that a lot of fast-moving consumer goods products like shampoo, for instance, come in large pack sizes, like 200 milliliters, more or less. Okay, and the question is, if you launch that product into a developing market, developing economy, would that suit the customer's purchase power, for instance? That's something that you need to consider. Okay, and how would you, from features perspective, what pack size that you want to offer to meet the customer's need in that market? Okay, if you look at Unilever, for instance, and the other FMCG companies, for instance, or fast-moving consumer goods companies, okay, they do some adjustments in that in that aspect. Okay, the um, detergent products that they launch in Australian market, for instance, or the other developed economies, again normally come in the large pack size. When they expand the business, they launch a smaller pack size. How small? Well, if you look at their hand soap, for instance, it can be as small as in sachet. The detergent, the laundry detergent could be as small as 25 gram in sachet, right? And that requires some work from their perspective as well. Okay, so guys, think about this as your guideline when it comes to think about these 3 levels of product strategy as a guideline when it comes to your product planning. Okay, what kind of what aspects of the product that will stay, what aspects of the product that you want to adjust. Okay, because there should be something that you need to adjust for your host market. Okay, otherwise it may not work. Okay. Okay, so that's the 3 levels of product concepts. And I'm not going to discuss this. I just want to highlight this briefly. And so in terms of product service decisions, we need to refer to the product attributes or the features that we want to include. Okay, the branding, what brand that we want to use. It may be a different brand. And in this subject, we discussed that P&G has different brands, for instance, different detergent brand, and they try to change it to standardize it, and apparently it didn't work. Okay, in Europe. All right, so you need to consider, really think about what branding strategy that you want to use. Okay, packaging. Now, packaging here, I just want to highlight to you that it has at least 2 important roles of packaging. It protects the content of the products. It also communicates the value. It helps communicate the value for the customers, right? Well, what about if my product is the heavy equipment? I don't pack them in the box. Well, look, you may not, when you paint your equipment in a certain way, it's actually part of the packaging, because it helps you communicating the value of your brand to the customers. Okay, how are you going to deal with it? Are you going to maintain the consistency? Okay, are you going to maintain the consistency between the home market and host market? Right, you need to discuss that. Okay. Sometimes companies make a decision to change the color to adjust it to the host market, okay, whilst they still maintain the characteristics of the brand. Okay. Labeling. Labeling is another thing that we also need to consider. Labeling at least has 2 important functions. The first one is to communicate the product, the brand, the usage, and the other one is actually to comply with the regulatory requirements. Okay, if you look at fast-moving consumer goods category, for instance, you'll find that they attach the nutritional fact, for instance. Okay, and each country may have different way to show the nutritional fact. Okay, and the last one is the product support services. How are you going to provide your support for your customers? Okay, if it is a B2B industry, then you need to also look at whether it is something that you negotiate with the customers. Okay, I understand that some B2B companies, in fact, negotiate what level of support that they need, that the customers need, because they can put it in the as part of the price that they offer for the customers. Okay, some customers may say, some business-to-business customers may say, "No, I don't need that, because I don't need installation support, because I have a bunch." Oh, so I shouldn't use the word a bunch. I have a lot of engineers working here, and they're highly qualified. They've been working for us for many years. They also have strong experience, so installation should be fine for me. Okay. So that may affect the pricing strategy. Okay, but they may need our help in terms of the maintenance, the regular maintenance or service, for instance. Okay, when the equipment that they purchase from us doesn't work, okay, or when the equipment that they hire from us doesn't work, okay. All right, so I do expect that this helps us to detail our product strategy, okay. In saying that, please again think about the standardization and adjustment, okay, of your marketing mix variables in general, okay. That includes the product strategy that we are going to offer for the customers, okay. Right, so that's a bit of info about the product services attributes. Now, the next one is actually just briefly about the services marketing, because I understand that the product that you guys design may include the services component. This is what we mean by service: an activity, benefit, or satisfaction that we offer to meet the customer's need, and it does not result in the ownership transition, okay, so, because it is intangible. All right. Now that is quite important. The word intangible in here is quite important for us to reflect on when it comes to understanding the services industry. Okay, what we offer for the customers, what the service that we offer for the customers basically is basically intangible. Okay, as it is intangible, it doesn't change the ownership. Okay, so when we buy a Qantas ticket, okay, it doesn't mean that we'll become the new owner of Qantas, right? When we book in a hotel, it doesn't mean that we'll become the new owner of the hotel, okay? But we will be allowed to stay in that hotel. We'll be allowed to stay in to be in the aircraft during a specific time, okay? So that's a contract that we are engaged with the other company. Okay. Now, the service component you offer, either you are working on a retail business or B2B business, heavy equipment or whatever it is, the services aspect, you also need to think about it. Okay. Now, the other thing I'd like to highlight in terms of services, the services component of your product is the nature of service, or the characteristics of the service. Okay, there are 4 characteristics. The first one is intangibility. Services cannot be seen, tasted, felt, heard, or smelled before purchase. Okay, so before you purchase, before you check into the hotel, you have no idea. Okay, once you check into the hotel, you have the feeling. When you step into the hotel at the front office, for instance, right, at the receptionist office, for instance, then you have some feeling, okay, the ambience of the hotel, the environment of the hotel, okay, the smell, okay, when you step into your bedroom, for instance, then you have the feeling, okay. Inseparability cannot be separated from the providers. Now, the service is actually provided by 3 components: people, okay, staff from your company, the machine, okay, that your company prepares to provide the service for the customers, and the third one is the combination of people and machine. If you go to the bank, for instance, the customer service team may use computer to help servicing us, or they may also use your key card to help you with the transaction, for instance. Okay. The next one is variability. Services, the quality of service may be varied, okay? May be varied depending on who provides the service, when, where, and how, okay? Now that has implication to the business, okay? We want we want consistency. Therefore, what we normally say, strong services company would normally say, would normally set the expectation. Hey, this is what we will deliver. This is my commitment to deliver to you. Okay. Other than that, sorry, I can't commit to the others. All right. So that's the to manage the variability. Okay. Australia Post, for instance, many years ago, they are committed to send our mails within the next day, provided that we put it in the mailbox just before 12 o'clock, okay? And now they have increased the stamp price, right? It used to be 30 cents, 50 cents, now $1 for domestic mail. And aside from that, recognizing the increase of input costs, they say, well, look, we can't deliver that within the next day. We'll deliver that within the next 2 business days. Okay, so that's what they commit. Okay, so that is managing the expectation because of the opportunity of providing the service, providing varied level of service. Okay. The next one is perishability. Services cannot be stored for later consumption or later sale. The implication of that is basically when if we can't sell the service, if our business is actually a service, then that's it. When the day goes by, all right, that's it. From inventory management perspective, the inventory should be written off. Okay. Now think about Qantas Airline, for instance. Okay, let's say they have flight number Qantas 123, for instance, flying from Sydney to Melbourne. They use Boeing, I don't know, 737, for instance. Okay, and that aircraft can take 200 passengers. But in one flight, if they can only sell 120 seats, right, and there are only 120 people, when the flight takes off, the other 80 seats, which is the inventory, should be written off. Okay, because they can't sell it for in the future. Okay, all right. So there are the components of the services, guys, and I'd like you to be aware of in terms of the service component. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? Hello. Any questions, guys?
No.
No. All good.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
And nothing from me either. Thank you.
Right. Brilliant. Brilliant. All right. Look. If you don't have any questions, what I'm going to do is just a bit of look. This is my habit actually. When we are still having when we are approaching especially when we are approaching the assessment due dates in the next 3 weeks, this assessment is due. Okay. I just want to again, sorry, you may feel getting bored with this, but it's just my habit, guys. Again, I would recommend you to make the decision. All right, what business that you want to use for your assessment to. Okay, it is a group decision. Okay, but understand that at some point of time we may have passive members. That's it. They need to take whatever you have decided, right? Whatever the rest of the members have decided. Okay. My message is that please still keep them posted. Please still communicate to them. Okay, we don't want to exclude them. We still expect them to change their behavior. Probably they are just having bad days. All right. Hopefully they they can get back to us. Okay. But if that still doesn't work, finally we just need to give them feedback in our team member rating sheet. Unfortunately, okay, we don't want that. We don't want to go that way. But if it has to be, it has to be. Okay, right. So now it comes down to this. Okay, so I think we've been discussing this, and just for item 2, 3, 4, make it succinct. Okay, for item 3, macro environmental analysis. Just the key highlights, what the major driving forces in that industry. Okay, look at the feedback I've given you in your assessment one. I'd like you all to uplift the impact analysis for that section. Okay, and in terms of micro environmental actors, please also uplift the analysis of the actors to show how they affect the value creation, communication, delivery. Okay. Now the entry strategy is interesting. So either you do a greenfield operation, that means you start from scratch, or acquisition or joint venture. That goes back to your analysis. Export, it is in theory an option, but not for this assessment, because we have made that decision in assessment one that we are going to expand to this market. Okay, and we are going to uplift the level of penetration that market. Okay. Then your SWOT analysis, Now, we've discussed segmentation, target market analysis, and we also have discussed the marketing strategy. Okay, now business objectives, we are going to look into it briefly next week. Okay, and we've discussed positioning, and today we've discussed the product decision. And next Friday, we are going to discuss price, placement, and promotion. And after that, we are going to discuss the operation. We have discussed risk some time ago. So next Saturday, we are going to discuss the operations and also the objectives. Okay, so that's basically it, guys. Any questions again?
No, all good. Eddie seems pretty fine.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. Look, if you have no questions, I'll off you from the hook, guys, and have a good one. Okay, good luck, yeah.
Thank you, Eddie. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye, bye.